I literally sat down at the kitchen table and cried and prayed because I didn't even have the money to go buy him shoes. I heard this woman on there. She actually became my first business coach, but I heard her on there and she was talking about how to bring people in for weight loss. And I was already doing nutrition. He was getting ready to go to Zimbabwe. He had to go get shots and he got very violently sick on the way back. We pulled over to the side of the road and he's throwing up because he's so sick. This is probably way too much information for a podcast. And he said, "I'm done."
All right, welcome to another edition of Living Boldly with Purpose. And today, what I consider is a special podcast because I had the privilege of going on Anne's podcast a few months ago, and we just got along so well. And she asked me some amazing questions, and I was all excited. I said, well, now that I went on your podcast, you're going to have to come on my podcast because I have questions. And then she got to ask me all the questions. So the tables have a little bit turned, but I wanted this audience to know all the wonderful, amazing, incredible things that she's doing to help people. And so, the name of the podcast is Living Boldly with Purpose. And I don't believe, and maybe you don't believe it is either, but I don't believe you can be living in purpose and not serve others. And maybe just expand on that just a little bit before we tell your story, because I want you to do that. But is it possible to live in the purpose that God put you on this earth to do and not serve others?
Not at all. I totally agree with you 1,000%. Yes.
Sometimes I just think about that, when folks come on, and I had one guy, he was named the Kingmaker, and the Kingmaker who came on my show, told me that, this life, everybody was here to serve him, as a king. And then he started telling me about the relationship. And I was taken back because I did not know how to answer him on the questions. I think I would do a better job now in hindsight, but he kind of just threw me off guard because he said, well, the women that are in my life are here because they're supposed to serve me. And my wife that I married, that she gets the benefit of being married to me. So when I tell her I need you to go into the room and make me a cup of coffee, she better go into the room and make me a cup of coffee, and she better sit down. And at 8:00 in the morning, I'm going to go there and I'm going to tell her that she's special. And then she knows that her life is built around the things that I give to her. And I'm like, this is 2025.
Oh my gosh. My eyes. Oh.
How do I answer that?
I'm jumping out of my chair here.
Yeah. So I published the podcast and it's out there and you can see, but I'm like, but he said something about a masculine something identity, that this is the roles that we are meant to play. And that's her role in this world. And I'm thinking, how is she married to him and willing to do that? And she said she loves serving me the way that I deserve to be served. And this is how
well, good for you that you found someone that wants to do that. Yes.
Yeah. And I asked about all the other relationships he has with women, like in his business, like how do you go to work in the day, or do your entrepreneur stuff? And it was kind of the same answers as, the women in my life, they know that I'm the king and that they should be serving me. And I help people make millions, but it sounded like he was recruiting other men. And that kind of scared me. And so I had to put a disclaimer on my show that pretty much said, although the views that are in here are those of the Kingmaker, they are 100%
not reflect my values. Right.
Yeah, they're.
I think there's only one king.
Yeah, amen. I love it. So cool. Well, I want you to tell your story, and then I want you. You can start at the day you were born, if you want, and then move on to where you're at now, or you can start
back that far.
Yeah, that's what I keep finding out. The older that I get, the less further back I can go. I'm trying to remember. I can remember special moments with my kids, but the day-to-day stuff with my, even when my kids were little, because my youngest is 29, or she'll be 29. She's born in 96, so whatever that is. that she'll be 28 or 29 in September. Yeah, so I don't remember that far back. So you can go anywhere in your story you want. Tell us all the good stuff. If there's some other stuff that you just want us to know because it's made your identity change or made you a better person, tell us about that. And then you and I'll get to ask you all these really cool questions after that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think what I can do is kind of share a little bit of through my childhood and how that really shaped what I do today in my business and even in my life. So I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and in the United States, and I was always someone who was kind of in the spotlight. I was a cheerleader. I did sports. I like to speak on. I used to have the lead play. The lead spot in drama and in plays. If there was a talent show, I was in it. I mean, I always liked, it wasn't about being in the spotlight as much as it's so hard to explain, but I actually just kind of felt called to do that. Like I was always kind of a leader. I remember even in high school, actually my senior year, we had student government day and you ran for different offices and then you spent the day doing that particular office. I ran for sheriff, And so I was sheriff for a day. So that was interesting. But all of that, and I used to love to write as a kid. I used to write short stories and things like that. And English and writing was always they were some of my favorite subjects, creative writing. What's so interesting is all of those things are things I do in my business now. I speak. I'm on, I have my own podcast. I write. I have a magazine that I've published. I just launched my 4th book. All of it, being a leader and really being in that leadership role, I never knew that would be part of my business. And today it is my business. So I think that's what's brought me into what I do today. Also, my dad was always an entrepreneur. So even though I went the corporate route and did that for 13 years, but I was still a leader. I was in business management. I was managing, running, really being a leader to other people. But when I had kids, when I found my husband and got married and I had kids, that all changed. I didn't want to be in the corporate sector anymore. And that's how my first business started. So here we are. I'm on business number 7. I have 2 right now and I've sold 5. So I have built and sold 5 previous businesses. And so my entrepreneurial journey has been almost 35 years now. And the reason I started that, Dr. B, was when I made the decision to leave my corporate career and my corporate income, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My kids were little. I just had them. My daughter was about 18 months old and my son was, a little over 3. And I knew that the job that I had just wasn't I didn't feel like that's where I was being called. I felt like God was calling me to be a mom. You don't have kids and then, they're raised in daycare and it just wasn't my heart. I literally, as much as I loved my career and I was kind of doing all the things to sort of climb the corporate ladder, as soon as those kids came, it just changed everything and my calling changed. So I knew my purpose was to be a mom but the math didn't work with my husband's check. We moved out to a small town. Yeah, we made a move. We were actually living in California at the time, my husband and I, or our family, and we made a move back to the Midwest, back to Missouri, so we could be around family. But we moved outside of a very small town in the country. We had 1 vehicle because my husband gave back a company vehicle when we left. So here we are. Everything that we had went into the down payment for a home and making that move back. The math didn't work and we were just financially strapped. And there came a point where I thought we were going to just lose everything that we had really worked for. So I sat down one day. There was really a turning point. So my kids got hand-me-downs and things like that from their cousins. I couldn't even afford to buy meat at the grocery store. So in the Midwest, this is probably going to freak some people out, but my husband hunts. He's a deer hunter and we depended on that for our meat. That was our meat. So I didn't have money to buy food. Like everything I made was from scratch.
Hey, it's Dr. B, and let me ask you something just here real quick. Are you tired of doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results you want? Are you serious about making some changes this year that will impact you in a huge way? Maybe you're putting out content right now and it's not turning into customers, or maybe you're uploading videos, but you're not sure why or how it's even gonna help. You know, I've seen a lot of people that are making a whole bunch of cold calls to the wrong people, and no one's answering. No one wants to talk to you. It might just be that you're just doing what you've been doing and crossing your fingers hoping it finally works this year. But let me tell you what, that is not a strategy, and it will continue not to work. That's why I created the Podcasting Challenge, and it's coming up fast. In just a few days, I'm going to walk you through the mindset, the tool set, and the skill set you need to create a powerful podcast. That's right, a podcast. You won't believe what a podcast can do. One that builds real value and creates new clients. And if you grab a VIP ticket, you'll get to join me for a daily Zoom Q&A sessions where I'll personally answer your questions and help you tailor everything to your goals. This is your moment. This is your year. Go to thepodcastingchallenge.com right now and save your seat. The link is in the show notes and the description. Thank you for watching these podcasts. Now let's get back to the conversation.
I became a really good cook as a result of that. So I had to make things from scratch. I never bought anything store-bought or like processed we just didn't have the money. So my kids got their clothes. They were hand-me-downs. It's hard to talk about this still, even now. And we were not homeless, but we could have been very easily. My husband worked long hours. He drove back and forth to the city. He did everything he could, but he had a paycheck. At the end of the day, it was a paycheck. There was no opportunity to make more money. So there was a turning point. As my kids were getting hand-me-downs from their cousins for all of their clothes and things like that, my son needed some shoes. He was about 4 and he didn't have shoes, and they didn't give him any that fit and I literally sat down at the kitchen table and cried and prayed because I didn't even have the money to go buy him shoes. Like, I still could almost get emotional over that. Just shows you how big God is. He's just so big. And wow, I haven't cried on a podcast yet. This is the first.
I didn't know any of this about you. So this is thank you so much for sharing your heart. Wow. This is amazing.
Gosh, I haven't cried on a podcast. I have been choked up on it. You know, it's so interesting. That was 35 years ago, and I can still pull it up like it was yesterday.
I bet. I'm sure.
But, you know, God's just so big. And I just prayed for an answer, and he just gave me an idea. Like, he gave me an idea. I had a box of stuff. I was pretty crafty. And I used to do, like, when my son was born, I did all the crafty stuff for his nursery to make his nursery really cute and all of that. And I was still in corporate at the time. And I used to do it because it was a kind of a stress reliever. And I've always been very creative and always loved doing those things. And so I had this box of stuff that was stored in my basement. It was probably worth about $15 of stuff. And I thought, I wonder if I can make some things. There was, at that time, the craft industry was exploding across the country. And I thought, I wonder if I can make some things. And there's a little store in town, and they put things on consignment, and maybe I can sell some things and help my family. So that was my first business. Well, I made some things. I took them to the little store. She was very gracious and said she would put them in there. But after 3 weeks, nothing sold. So I sold nothing, and that was not helping. So I said to her, "Tell me what's selling." And she said, "These rabbit dolls." And at that time, there were animal dolls. Like, people were making these animal dolls and these crafty items all across the United States. It was just kind of exploding. The industry was exploding.
Was that when you could you could make a doll and put it on top of your vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, or a vacuum, or set them on your bed, or set them on shelves. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So she shows me, she says, this rabbit doll, she said, we can't keep them, we can't keep them in the store. And I thought, a rabbit doll? I have no idea how to make a rabbit doll, but I'm going to figure it out. I am going to make a rabbit doll if that's what's selling. So I borrowed my mom's sewing machine. I didn't even have a sewing machine. Borrowed my mom's sewing machine. I went to a local store, which everyone would know their name. And I looked through pattern books, and I just looked at all kinds of designs and patterns, and it just got ideas. And I came home and I just created my own doll. just mapped it out, put it together, had a glue gun, sewed and all of that, and created my own doll. And a long story short, that turned into a global business that I did for 7 years. I was shipping all over the world. I was in multiple stores across the country, not just with rabbits, but you'll appreciate this, Dr. B. So where the big place, so the rabbit dolls were selling well, but then what really changed is they came out with this Noah's Ark material fabric for nurseries and things like that. And I got the idea, I can make animals 2x2, like Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
And
so 2 giraffes together or something like that, right? Oh my God.
So I had lions, I had tigers, I had giraffes, and they even ended up on the cover of an international magazine. They were selected for a magazine. So that's how I actually got that business to be global. I advertised. I did the old-fashioned way. I advertised in international magazines. But I had a lot of other moms. This is where God was just, his vision was so much bigger for me than mine was. Mine was to make a little bit of money. And God just kept opening the doors and opening the doors. And next thing I knew, I was helping a lot of other moms that wanted to stay home with their kids. And they were helping me in my business. And they were coming in and out of my home and doing doll parts and cutting and just a lot of the piecework that went into that business. And I was shipping everywhere, and I was in stores across the country. And yeah, that was my first business.
I got to ask questions because my wife has an embroidery business, and she started about 7 years ago. And she just started kind of like what you're doing, where she's, we had like this one machine that's in there. Now there's like 12 different machines in there. We got 3 like full scale embroidery machines. We have there's people coming here all day long, every day. And
that's awesome.
But you figured out how to scale based on your neighbors and other people. Because I know we have like one lady that gets her stuff that she comes over here and helps out, and then her mom and dad come out and help out. Because I'm kind of interested in, because you can't make that many dolls if you're selling them all over the world yourself. I mean, you'd be up 24 hours, 48 hours. So what?
I did work long hours. Let me just say that. I learned a lot of things about business along the way about, like, don't be that. But I got to where the way I learned to scale that was, okay, what can I give? What are the pieces I can give up that can multiply this?
Gotcha.
So the things that took a long time were cutting the dresses and the clothes, cutting the patterns, the stuffing, making the doll parts, and then stuffing them. That all took so much time. Actually putting the doll together and doing the finishing work, which is what I really loved to do. I didn't love all the other stuff. I loved doing the finishing work and running the business. So I still did the finishing work, because not that somebody else, I could have taught other people to do that. I still really loved that because it was kind of my touch. And, the other thing, so I wouldn't, they would come in with like bags of arms and legs and hands and feet and, all of this stuff. And so that's how I scaled that. But I also, I was very strategic in how I did things. So, UPS was at my house every day. I would have boxes, going to stores and boxes going out to people every day. And so UPS picked those up. I didn't go and take them. So I found ways to cut costs, to leverage my time, to just do things that allowed me to grow that business. So yeah, that was my first one. And then eventually I went into the pattern. So this was another way I scaled. I did kind of see the industry shifting a bit in the ready-made goods. There were a lot of things being imported, like from China and overseas. And it almost got to where I couldn't make the stuff as inexpensive as they could buy it. Right. So I knew there had to be a shift. So I started doing patterns then, so other people could make my designs. And I started working with a pattern company, and I made patterns, and then they would sell the patterns through their company. And so then that became another revenue stream. So that was another way that I did it. But I didn't love that side of it. I didn't love creating the pattern just to create the pattern. There was something to me about having the
Put it all
dolls. And
together.
yeah, there was just something about that. It's interesting. Talking about purpose, you would think, okay, outside of it did help my family, right? It changed everything for us. That was my purpose. My calling was being home with my kids, I was able to go to all of their events. I was able to do everything with my kids because I had a home business, right? And even when they were little and I was in craft stores, the ones that were local, which I say local, they were an hour away, but my kids would go with me and we would make it a day. We would go load the store up, take all the stuff and I would do my booth and everything in the store. And then we would go have a fun day. I'd take them to Chuck E. Cheese, or I would take them to an indoor playground or we would make a day of it. So it became a fun thing for them. So they were part of being with my business. And that was such a blessing. When I look back at that, that was such a blessing. But, other ways that God used that as well was being able to help other moms. That was a big thing. And then you wouldn't think dolls would have an impact, like something like that would have an impact, but I had people that collected them. And I'll tell you, the day that I got a call from a lady in Iceland. This is still probably one of the best stories of that I remember from doing that business. It had the most impact on me. She called me at that time. People had to call on the phone, right? So I had a phone and she called and she wanted to order my next set of Noah's Ark dolls. And she said to me, my husband's in the military. We travel all over. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. And your dolls are such a blessing to me. And I can never wait for the next ones to come out. She said, they are such a comfort. If I could show you my home at that time, we didn't have cell phones and all that.
Yeah, we can just take a picture. Yeah.
Yeah. She said, I just want to thank you so much for the work. And she said that you're doing. And she said, the fact that these are really kind of faith-based and all of that, that was so impactful to me to know that they touched someone like that she felt lonely. She talked about how she felt lonely being in Iceland and, her husband being gone and in the military and all of that. So, yeah, God just uses everything.
He does. Now, here's my crazy as my mind thinks. So I'm thinking of the giraffe dolls and elephant dolls and monkey dolls. Did you have the snake dolls that were part of the
I didn't do snakes. No, that's a serpent. No, I didn't.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you put that in there that the other ones could eat? Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is everything I didn't do then everything wasn't in Noah's Ark fabric. That was kind of the start of it. So I did have a Noah's Ark line. They were all kind of in the same kind of fabric. But it did open up the idea to do a male and a female. So even when I did any kind of dolls, I would do a male and a female. And so it just kind of opened up that whole idea.
Yeah.
And so people, and what was I doing, right? I was creating an upsell there. You can't have the female without the male, or you can't have the male without, right? So it was a bundle. Which is what I teach people, right? How can you get more with one client? So, no, just kind of funny. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah. So that was the first thing, and then on to my next. Then my next business was fitness, teaching fitness classes in a community hall because there was nothing available. That turned into 2 health clubs, 2 weight loss centers, and coaching hundreds, thousands of people over years, helping them be healthier. And then I sold all those businesses. So when I sold the first business, I sold out the patterns, the designs. And then when I sold the fitness and weight loss businesses, sold those, and then stepped into coaching and consulting and marketing and all the stuff I do now.
So, oh my gosh. It's so evident that you have this business skill, acumen, vision to be able to make a whole bunch of. And I'm thinking about your husband, right? Because he's working his butt off, trying to make sure that, he's taking care of the family. But all of a sudden he's got this incredible wife who's figured out how to create all this, not only income and help the family. does he continue to go to work every day during this time, or now does he come in and help you run your businesses? How did that work out for your dynamics and stuff?
That's a great question. So, my husband has always been a support to me. And we're going on, let's see, is it 44 years this year we'll be married. We've been together 45. So he's my only husband ever. And so 40 will be 44 years, but he's always supported me. Now, that being said, I learned some great negotiation skills with a lot of stuff I wanted to do because he couldn't always see the vision the way I could.
Yeah.
So I learned how to negotiate and get what I wanted. But when I think about things like expanding my fitness business into a large health club, like we put everything on the line. We took out a loan to do that. We put everything on the line. We literally could have lost everything if that business didn't work. He had to be behind that. We prayed about things and we had peace about things, when we expanded. I even remember when I was in this little bitty building running fitness classes and all of that. And my business just kept growing and people were traveling miles to come to my business. And I created a program back then that was kind of had a brand of its own. And it kept growing. And so I wanted to move. Everybody said, you need to move to this bigger town and open there. Well, there were already a couple of other places. Now, again, this was 28 years ago. So there wasn't a club on every corner. And I thought, I don't know how I'll compete with them. It's just really me. And I'm just teaching classes. And I was also doing nutrition with people. I had studied nutrition and was helping people lose weight. And I thought, I don't know how I'll compete with like a YMCA and, another club. And so I remember telling my husband, all these people are already traveling from that town. I ought to just move there. And I remember him saying, okay, but, try to get a building without a lease. So if it doesn't work out, we're not stuck with a lease, right? Stuck, so there were things like that, but we kind of laugh about some of those things now, but I will tell you, he has been my support. Even now, there are times he still has to talk me off the ledge. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. But even now, there are times I'll be frustrated about something, and he's a cheerleader, but he's retired.
Okay.
About 9 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, I guess 8 years ago, he started having some health issues in his job. His job was actually causing health problems.
Oh gosh.
And he wasn't due for retirement or anything yet, but my coaching and consulting business was doing really well. And so I convinced him, and it was hard for him, but I convinced him to retire because it wasn't worth his health. In my mind, it wasn't worth his health, and my business was doing well. And so he did. That was a hard transition for him, though, but he did retire. So he's retired, but he does so many things. We have properties and different things that he takes care of, and he's always busy. He's doing something now. He's been doing all day. So, but he is always supporting me.
Oh, that's neat. Well, and so I've been kicked out of, literally kicked out of space downstairs. So when we first moved, we had our desk downstairs, and then a machine showed up, and then another machine showed up. So then I went to a closet, and then I went to, so I just keep moving out. But then the other things, I'm the guy who gets to go to UPS every day, and the guy who gets to go to the post office either at least once a day. I go to one of them. Because when she said, well, I need you to cut this fabric. Well, I don't know how to cut fabric straight.
But you could learn.
She decided that I can't learn. That's a skill that I'm never going to have. And she's too much of a perfectionist, and she does really good work. And I mean, I can watch the machine, as it's going up and down. And if the thread breaks, I can go, hey, the thread broke, or I could try to fix it. But other than that, so I've I know my lanes. How do I support you? Which I think we kind of figured it out. And our children are grown now, so it's just her and I most days that are here. We have a grandchild who comes every day, so Papa gets to, bring grandchild in and make breakfast for grandchild and do all, and she runs downstairs and does all that. So I feel like I'm supporting her the best that I possibly can, but
I
she's
love
got
it.
her thing, and so
Mhm.
I love to hear and I was kind of wondering how he did.
Mhm.
She asked me to retire. I think somebody told me yesterday, I was talking to a financial person, and he was saying that yesterday that was on my podcast, and he was saying that retirement came out of the 30s, and it meant not useful anymore, or not use in the workforce anymore is kind of
Mm.
what retirement meant. And so I don't ever want to be that.
Right,
I
right.
don't want to be that person. And it sounds like your husband isn't either. He's
No,
probably
he's got a lot of things. He
yeah.
always has things to do, and he does love to hunt and fish. So, yeah, so he does do that in season, right? But there's a lot of things that he does. But he also will run errands. He does things around the house, and I've never asked him to do that. He just stepped up and did those things, and we're a team. I mean, we're just a team. I always say we kind of laugh. We always kind of say we're the cart and the horse. When the cart needs pulling, the horse has to step up and
Yeah.
pull. And sometimes I'm the cart, and sometimes he's the cart, and the other one has to step up and be the horse and pull the other one up. And I don't know. We're a team. I'm just super super blessed, and
So
it's not been easy, but
yeah,
it's
no, I mean we all have the ups and downs and the things. Here's where I really, if I can ask you these questions, it's you decide you want to be a mom, which is huge, which is like this is all you leave in corporate America, you're going to be this mom, and then you end up starting business and doing business. So that means now you're this incredible example. Tell me a little bit about your kids and just I know you got to be proud of them and the things that they're doing in life, and because they got to see not just a mom who cares and sacrificed for them, but then to be able to see you start succeeding and see you go through, these chain, the business that you were worried, hey, we might not, if we don't come out of this, we might be back to the days, but they got to see that. They got to see not only the successes, but they got to be part of the failures. And that had to impact their life in just an incredible way. So tell me a little bit about them and their world.
They didn't know about where we were
Of course, yeah,
financially.
yeah,
Yeah, they were little, so they didn't know, and they
hmm
didn't even really know how strapped we were, for a lot of years. And
yeah,
my son even kind of has told me that, which I never gave that much thought. He said, "Mom, I didn't even really realize that we
uh-huh,
didn't, have or whatever."
yeah,
But they always did watch us work very hard. They watched me work hard. They watched my husband work hard. They learned that work ethic. Yeah, I'm very proud of my kids. So my son now, he climbed the corporate ladder. He's in IT
okay,
and went, he was a CTO and companies, big multi-billion dollar companies. And so he has done extremely well. But he now has his own consulting business. He
mm,
started about a year and a half ago when his company downsized. It kind of when AI came onto the scene, he was in an AI company that all of a sudden their product wasn't really viable anymore. So they downsized, and he had trouble finding another job at that level. Now he could have got other jobs, but at the level that he was at.
Hello, this is Dr. B, and I want to ask you one simple question. What if you died having never become you? Now, I don't mean the version of you that worked the job, raised the kids, or chased security. I mean the person God actually designed you to be, the real you. Because there's a version of your life that's already been written, and it's full of peace, it's full of boldness, it's full of purpose, and of course it's full of power. But most people, many people, they miss it. They live distracted, doubting, disconnected, and deep down they wonder, is this really all there is? But not you and not today. That's why we created the Becoming the Person universe. It's a living, breathing community of people saying, I want to be who God called me to be. Not someday, but right now. So inside, we'll walk you through 3 levels of transformation. Level 1 is all about identity, where you finally see yourself clearly and know exactly who you are and who you need to become. Level 2 is about mastery, where we develop the disciplines to grow. And then finally, level 3 is legacy, where your life begins to matter beyond you. And hear me. I want you to hear me clear here. This is not a place to passively belong. This is a place to grow, lead, and thrive. We even have ways for you to share in the revenue as we grow, because we believe in building legacy together. And I want you to know the founders and I are praying for you. We have been praying for you. You have been on our hearts. Yes, you have been on our hearts. You're not watching this by accident. And I want to personally invite you to the next info meeting, where we will go over all this community has to offer. All you have to do is just click the link below. You know what to do. But now it's your turn. I want to ask you to ask yourself, what if this is the moment everything changes? What if this is the reason you've been searching? What if all God has been waiting for is for you to say yes? There's a seat for you here, whether you're rediscovering yourself or finally ready to leave a legacy and are ready to contribute. Either way, this is the Becoming the Person universe. And once you're in, your life will never be the same. So I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to spend time with you. I can't wait to see you on the other side. So let's go live in that purpose, and let's do it together.
They're not, they're not a dime a dozen. So he kind of started his own consulting company, and now it's like on fire. Like, it just blows my mind how great he is doing. So super proud of him. But we have 4 grandkids. They're all his. We have triplets that are 8 years old. Yes. And then we have the little one who will be 3 this year. So they are his pride and joy. And he loves having his own company where he gets to take time with the kids and do things. And they're just such a great family. They're always going and doing. And that is the love of his life, is his family. I mean, the company and all that is great. But my daughter, she went to school and graduated in broadcasting, television. Yeah. And she hates it. So now you can't get her in the spotlight. She's done all that. You can't get her on the radio. You can't get her on a podcast. But she, for a lot of years, for, I don't know, the last 10 or 12 years, I guess, she has been in the restaurant industry, opening high-end restaurants and getting them staffed and all the things that go into them. And so she's still in the restaurant industry in a different capacity now. But so that's what she is doing now. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's not married. I don't have grandkids by her.
You have grandkids. She better get on it, right?
I don't think I'm going to get any from her, but
yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so neat because, when you think of, even Tony Robbins, success leaves clues and those things that we say. And, I think of the times, our lean times that we have. And, all our kids were little and, they say they, we obviously didn't tell them what things were going on, but, I think they just kind of know when we're stressed. They kind of know and then they know when we're doing well, and they know, and as I see my kids and the things that they're doing now and the things that they just, they're all on fire doing stuff, like you said, that you just go, man. Now because I have more kids, I have more grandkids, but I have 3 that y'all don't need to have kids. We could just wait. Yeah, you guys are ready to have, you guys are ready to have kids. They don't have like the my youngest, which is our daughter. She just got her thing where she's doing medical X-ray technician or something. And so she's now starting to talk about kids. She's like, okay, I got to have some kids. But then I have a son that's like, he doesn't even have a girlfriend. 2 of them don't even have girlfriends. So cool. We don't need to have kids. We don't need to think about it.
Right.
but we have 16 grandkids already. So it's
That's
like,
crazy.
oh my
Well, what a
gosh.
blessing. Yeah. I think they're just so much fun. Being a mom and being a Nana, they call me Nana, being a
Yeah.
Nana, I love it. I just love it. Now they're in Texas. I'm in Missouri. So we don't get to see them as much as we would like to. So
Yeah.
that's hard. A lot of, FaceTime, not the same, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just, I love it. And it's part of the reason too why I love a business, having my own business, because it gives me the opportunity to travel and to go see them and to do things. And we have a condo at the lake that we love to go spend time at, and we have some property where my husband loves to hunt and stuff. So we have a couple of different, we have some different things, and so we like to go and do and travel, and not travel. We don't travel a ton,
Yeah.
but as far as like going on trips, we do go on trips, but usually we're looking to spend more time with family and do things with them. So it allows me to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, we do the every other year family trip. The first one we did was, when we decided when the kids got older that we were going to do something like every other year. And
Mhm.
I took, at that point, of the 8 kids and one grandchild, we took them to Hawaii. And we used
Mm,
like the timeshares and that kind of stuff. We took
mhm.
to Hawaii. Well, out of that trip came 2 grandkids. So
Oh, must have been a good one.
it must have been a great trip.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to do something every year. So we've met there. So I have half of my children live in California. Half of them live
Mm.
here in Colorado with us, and so. Um, but one of the 3 grandkids are getting ready to move to Boston here at the end of the summer. So I'm like, with the ones that are here, and everybody else is in California. But our last trip, so we went from those 9. Last year we were in San Diego. We were at the campground, and we went to
Mhm.
Legoland and that kind of stuff. But there was 32 of us. By the time there
Wow.
was, spouses,
Mhm.
kids, grandkids. Of course, my parents want to go, and my wife's parents want to go, and
How
sister
fun
wants to
though.
go. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's to
That's
me.
amazing.
What do I need to go look at, like a statue of something? Like, oh,
Mhm.
hey, whatever, the different places that you can travel to, or walk around Europe and enjoy it. I mean,
Mm.
I guess that stuff is cool, but I can hang out with my kids and my
Yeah.
grandkids.
Yeah. Well, I do like my husband and I, we're going to Hawaii every year,
Okay.
for years, just the two of us. So we do take one or
Yeah.
two trips a year,
Good.
just the two of us. But then we started going to Jamaica because he hated the flight to Hawaii. So he's like, oh, so a little story about my husband before. Or when I met him, he was traveling all over the world. He was the youngest service engineer in the industry,
Oh,
and
okay.
he was traveling all over the world. He's been everywhere. So he filled up a 5-year passport in 2 years. So that should tell you something.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he literally lived on a plane practically,
Yeah.
and in
Okay.
other places. And so when I met him, I- well, he was still traveling, but when he said he wanted to marry me, I said, I cannot marry you if you, that's the kind of job you have. I didn't see the point. He was never
Mm. He's
there.
never around. Yeah. Wow.
He'd come in for the weekend, and then he'd fly back out to France and wherever he was going.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see the point. That wasn't the life that I wanted. That wasn't the life I felt called to. And I knew I wanted a family. And so not to say I gave him an ultimatum, but I just said, I just don't see that would work. Well,
Mhm.
fortunately, again, God's timing, he was so sick of traveling. And I remember I took him he was getting ready to go to Zimbabwe. Okay. And he had to go get shots, and he got very violently sick on the way back. I took him to go get the shots, and he got violently sick on the way back from the shots. And I remember pulling over to the side of the road. We were just talking about this. I'd actually forgot this. And we pulled over to the side of the road, and he's throwing up because he's so sick. This is probably way too much information for a
This
podcast.
is great.
He was so sick. And he said, I'm done. I'm
Wow.
done. I'm not
Yeah.
going. I'm not going. He said, I'm stopping. He had job offers everywhere anyway. People were always wanting him to come work for him. I remember, even when we were dating, he had a job offer in Saudi Arabia. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not
Yeah.
going, not going to Saudi Arabia. So, so, there were things. So he had a job offer in California. And he called the guy up and said, "Hey, I'll take it." So that was kind of the start of, okay, so he went out and got established. And then, so that was kind of the beginning of our marriage. But everything was in God's timing. Had I met him 2 years earlier, it wouldn't have probably worked that way. If it just everything. And actually, the reason I met him is because he got hurt. And he was home staying with a cousin. Because he had really got injured on the job, and he was out of work for like 2 or 3 months. And so he would never have been in the area I was in, or we never would have met had he not been injured. In fact, when I met him, he had a cast on his arm. He had already had the other cast that had come off, but had a cast on his arm. He had his hand smashed in a machine.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was bad. It was a really bad accident. And he was staying with his cousin, and they were, and that's how I met him. And so everything, we just know it was so God ordained. We just know that.
Let's talk about that a little bit, how faith has played a part in your businesses, in your family, in your overall life that's allowed you to be here. And just kind of talk to me a little bit about that
everything.
relationship.
It's everything. It is everything to me. I really, we all forget sometimes, like, to give it to God, right? But I really, and I might forget that for a moment, but then I don't forget it, because everything, God's vision has always been bigger than mine. Even when I think I have this big vision, his is always like the things that he does are just so crazy. I mean, they're just so crazy. And so when I just trust him, I pray about things. I give things to him. Sometimes I don't have the answers right away. I just have to lean in and just keep doing what I feel like he's moving me to do, without sometimes knowing the outcome. And I think that's a really hard thing for people. They always want to know for sure that this is going to happen, or I just see so many ways God works, but it's almost never the way I envision. Almost never. And I think he does it sometimes to show off.
I agree. It's just, see, I told you.
I'm going to tell you a story. So this is a really cool story. I think it's a cool story, talking about God really showing up. So when I was in my fitness business, I was ready to expand. We wanted to expand that business, but I needed a big space. And so I found a big warehouse, a huge building, 16,000 square feet, but it didn't have anything in it. Like, there were no bathrooms that could have worked for a health club there, like, literally. So it needed all the build out. And I remember I was like, okay, we can't do this. We don't have the money to do this. So I went to the bank and I talked to someone that was working out with me. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to get a business loan. Now, you have to remember, this was 28 years ago. It wasn't as easy as it is now. I said, I'm going to have to get a business loan. And she said, we'll put together a business plan and then we'll take a look. I had no idea how to put together a business plan. None. I thought, this is over. I mean, you could Google it. I didn't have the internet. I thought, you couldn't, like, you had to, if you were going to even get, I didn't even know about like a Brian Tracy, which I didn't learn about him for 20 years or whatever, but you didn't have access to that stuff. People don't get that. We didn't have access to that kind of information.
No.
I'm thinking, I didn't go to business school. I have no idea how to do a business plan. So I was about to give up on the idea, and I just prayed about it. And I just thought, okay, Lord, if you want me to do this, if this is your purpose for me to expand this business, which I really felt called to do it. Like, interesting. I'm going to go back up a little bit. I remember I came to a point, and I was doing so much in the business, I was kind of killing myself. And we had outgrown the building we were in. And I remember saying to him, either I need to be able to expand this so that I can make more money to get help, or I need to shut this down because I can't keep doing this. Like I was exhausted.
Gotcha.
And that same week, so I'm backing up a little bit, that same week we heard the YMCA was closing down. I'm like, that's God's telling me something. It's your time, right? It's your time. And I had a great following and I had a great business, but I was killing myself. I was running lots of fitness classes. And so then I started looking for a building. And so we found it. We need the build out. I didn't know how to put together a business plan. So I just gave it to God. I said, I have no idea how to do this. I have no idea how you're going to do this, Lord, but I really believe you will if this is meant to be. And I just kind of let it go. And the other interesting thing is the building was going to be available the same exact week my lease was up in the other building. So that was another thing, right? It's like, if you think about signs, right? That was another sign. So I just prayed about it and I just gave it up to him. And I just thought, if this is meant to be, you'll work it out. I don't know how. And back then you would get credit card checks like that. You could write the check.
Yeah.
And you would get those in the mail. And we got a credit card check in the mail. Now, I'm not kidding. I went out to the mailbox one morning. I was going to teach a class or whatever. After I had prayed, after I had given it to him, we had to make a decision on the building. I go out to the mailbox, and in the mailbox is a credit card check for the exact, I'm going to choke up again, the exact amount we needed for the build out. The exact amount. That's how much the credit card check was for. All I had to do, Dr. B, was write the check.
Right. The check.
That was it.
Wow.
It was, and it was like at a really low interest, like 2% or so. Like it was a crazy low percent. It was like God just said, I told you this is where you're going.
I'd take care of it.
This is where you're going. And I could tell you so many stories all along the way. So when you trust him and he shows up, you can't not trust him. Like it's just, you can't not trust him in everything. And, even when I expanded and opened 2 more businesses in the recession, when people were shutting down, and God was just moving me to expand. And I had to kind of talk my husband into that one too. He's like, are you nuts? But, there again, he just worked it all out. And then I ended up with 4 businesses to sell instead of 2. So, I mean,
well, which is, that is so cool. It's not like I just left my business because it failed. You actually sold your businesses.
I sold them all. Yeah, no, I sold them all.
Oh my gosh.
No, built them up. And, the second bit, so I had a big health club, and then I brought in a weight loss center. And that weight loss center, I actually brought in another way God works. Oh my gosh, I could tell you story after story. I should write all these into a book. Yeah. But we had a real low price competitor come in. So after I expanded and everything, the recession hit. After we had paid all the money and expanded all that, the recession hit. And then we had a low price competitor come in, and all of a sudden I'm a higher end club. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Like they knocked me off, and they knocked me off for a fourth of the price. So I had no idea what I was going to do. And the payment service that I used said, we're having a webinar tonight. Now, again, this was 20 years ago. Yeah. We're having a webinar, or 18 years ago. We're having a webinar on how to double your dues in your club. And I thought, well, I'm going to get on that because I need to figure it out. And it was all around putting in a weight loss center. It was like a licensed company, almost like a franchise. Yeah. And I heard this woman on there. She actually became my first business coach. But I heard her on there, and she was talking about how to bring people in for weight loss. And I was already doing nutrition with people.
Yeah, so you were already doing it anyways.
This was like a whole business in a box, basically. And I thought, wow. So I scraped together the money to buy the license for that. And we put that into my club. And then my club fed the weight loss business, and the weight loss business fed my club. And that saved my business because we had the low price competitor, we had the recession, but people always want to lose weight. And so, and now we had a really structured program. It actually even ran under a different name. And that saved my business and in that time. And that was another way God worked and said, no, I'm not going to let you
I'm gonna keep
fail
taking care
here.
of you. Yeah.
And he opened that door. He's just opened doors all along the way. Again, I just give him prayer. I just pray. That's it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you for
Pray
sharing
and
that.
trust.
Yeah, pray and trust, and then watch God do. Like, I love how you said, I have no idea how you're going to do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't even hard. Like, God, like, yeah, I'm here, but you need to do
Mhm.
this. So I love that. Maybe
Yeah.
just, as we, finish up where we're going down, talk about what you do now and how you're helping people now, and then even expand that into how you can help people that are even listening today. Because
Yes.
obviously you've been very successful. We got to know you now, and now we just got to say, what is it you do that continues that we can be part of?
Thank you. Yeah. So today, what I do in my business today is I'm really a strategic business growth consultant. So I work with people to help them really grow and build businesses,
Mhm.
scale their businesses. So a lot of times, Brian, people don't have. I can look at somebody and look at what they've done, and I can see a business out of that or how they can grow that
Mhm.
bigger. I have a passion to help people in their business because so many businesses fail and so many people have this huge opportunity, but very much like me, they don't know a lot of what they're doing, right? They get into business because they're good at something and then they don't know how to run a business. And I had to learn all those things. So I've made all the mistakes and now I like to help people not make those. um, but I help them do things. I really love to help them take their expertise and their background and everything they've done and just really build something out of that. Just like I've done all those years, everything I built was out of what I knew, what I
Mhm.
had. So it's what I'm really close to, what I know, but I know it changes people's lives when I can help them make more money and be successful. And that really is where my heart is. But I love speaking. I love podcasting. I love, really impacting
Mhm.
people and sharing. But I also now have spun off my Expert in You marketing and media agency, and we'll help people launch a podcast. We will help people launch a magazine. We'll help them write their book, their expert book. So we have this whole suite of services on top of helping them really grow their business. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Oh man, I love it. I'm just thinking, I'm gonna have a conversation with the missus here and say, look, we have somebody who can help you, at the stage that you're at, that has, the expertise actually in the area that she's in. So that's even better. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's
not just any, like, there's so many consultants out there, right? I can help you do this, and that they don't know what you do, right? And there's
mhm.
no way you don't know what she does and how she does it every single day. So we'll talk about giving you a call. You wrote 4 books,
Mhm.
and talk about that just a little bit. The books, and how they're helping people, or maybe even your process, why you wrote them, and then how they're
Yeah.
helping. Yeah.
I wrote my first one. What is the name of that? Insider Secrets to Small Business Success. I actually, it's funny. I wrote that about 15 years ago. So it's still on my shelf, but I really don't promote it very much. It's kind of a startup book. It's a good startup book. So that one really was lessons that I kind of learned along the way, like having
Mhm.
the right mindset, having a success mindset, and you have to learn about marketing. So it's really a great book for startups
Yeah,
who
yeah.
don't know all those things that I had to figure
Mhm.
out and learn. I wrote it originally though because I knew I wanted to do more speaking and I wanted credibility that I could help people build businesses. And at that time it was like, okay, you need a book. So I wrote that first book. And then every time I changed the direction I was kind of going in my business, I wrote another book. So my bestseller, which is Expert in You, which is what my whole brand is around, it's how to build a lucrative and impactful coaching and consulting business from your expertise. So that book, number one bestseller, was my last one, and then my recent one. Kind of funny story. I wrote this because the speaking engagements. I got a speaking engagement, and it was actually for professional service businesses, but not people that were hanging out online, for like actual businesses
Mhm.
in the like contractor space. And I thought, okay, I need a book that's going to be relevant for them. So I wrote this one, Be the One They Choose, the new rules for standing out and winning more business. And it's really teaching them everything that I do with people online, but it's teaching these businesses offline what they should be doing online. So that I wrote that, and that's my recent one. Actually, it's only been out maybe a month. So
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get it. Oh my gosh, what did we talk about that we want to make sure that you tell our audience and the people that are watching us have this so much fun together?
I think really, and again, I know you have a wide range of people that are going to hear this. I really hope I left you with a few things today. One is that always when you have faith and you pray about things, God that will show up. I just truly believe that. And it is about being in a purpose aligned with him. So I think if your heart's always in the right place, if you're doing things for the right reasons, God's going to show up and be part of that. Yeah. So prayer has to be in everything, in my opinion, and trust has to be in everything. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we have more opportunity in the world today than we've ever had in history. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason for people to struggle. There's no reason, in my opinion, there's no reason for people to not take advantage of the opportunities that are out there that can better their life financially, but it even goes beyond you. What about bettering other people financially, being able to give more, being able to give back more? I just want to open people's minds to that. I see so many people that are complacent in their life. They're comfortable. They really don't do things anymore. They retire, and they literally retire. I don't think that's what we're really called to do. I believe as long as you've got breath, as long as you're breathing, and that you've got a purpose. And I can't encourage people enough to live their purpose. And I love living boldly. I always talk about making bold moves, make bold moves. Yeah. It's so rewarding, and it will change your life, and it will change lives of the people around you. And the thing is, you don't even really know how many people's lives you'll change. You really don't know.
Wow. Thank you so much. And it has been a pleasure. I am so glad that we didn't just leave the conversation of me talking to you, that you actually just gave us all these incredible insights today. And so
thank you.
That you're just coming on. I can't wait to spend more time with you, to learn more, to read your books. I already have one in mind that I want to make sure I go grab and get, and make sure that we have it. And for those of you who are watching, if this is the first episode you watch, go back and listen to the other one maybe, but she has an amazing podcast where she's helping people. Just you can feel her heart. Just when I hear about animals that are 2x2 that are going out and making a difference for a lady in Iceland. And then I think about, the women men that she helped in the fitness world, and, just always doing something that's serving others is just so neat. And so if this is the first episode, we have many more. Go ahead and hit the subscribe and the notifications. We're going to have many more that are just as powerful. But we'll put the links underneath. So if you're watching it now and you miss something, go ahead and rewind and go back, because we realized we could do that. It doesn't have to be all live, but go ahead and click on the links and find out as much as you can, because like she said, I believe you're God's greatest gift, and he loves you if you allow him to, and he will be there and he will show up. And you can even say things like, I have no idea how you're going to do this. And he will actually show up and do that for you. So thanks again for being on the show. Thanks again for just opening up your heart. It came out in spades, and I just, I love you for it. And so I look forward to talking to the rest of you. You guys have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day today. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.